If you're a busy mom feeling stretched thin, I'd love to invite you to the Busy Working Moms Blueprint Summit this January 19th through the 26th. I'm one of the featured speakers alongside an amazing lineup of experts, all sharing practical ways to stress less and simplify your days. And it's completely free. Save your spot at positivelyproductive.com/summit26. When your systems match your values, your day-to-day life feels more like your own. When they don't, you may notice resistance, guilt, second-guessing, and you may even experience burnout because you're drained by the underlying fight that's going on. You're listening to the Positively Living Podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Zaratny, founder of Positively Productive Systems, and a productivity coach certified in positive psychology and stress management. Join me as we explore ways to live a more proactive, positive life with episodes on productivity, self-awareness, mindset, entrepreneur life, habits and systems, simplicity, fun, and more. I understand overwhelm personally as a multi-passionate entrepreneur, wife and mom to kids and cats, and as a caregiver. I'm here to help you choose what's right for you so you can do less, live more, and breathe easier. Sound good? Let's get to it. Welcome to the Positively Living Podcast. I'm your host, Lisa, and I'm so glad you're here with me today as we begin a special series walking through the workbooks inside the free Positively Productive Toolkit. If you already have the toolkit downloaded, fantastic. And if you're listening at home or in your office, this is the time to grab the Core Values workbook and review it along with me. If you don't have it yet or can't access it because you're driving or walking or otherwise occupied, don't worry. You can listen, reflect, and come back to it later to review with the workbook. As a reminder, the toolkit and any other resources mentioned on the podcast can be found on the website resources page at positivelyproductive.com/resources. If you want to go right to the toolkit, go to positivelyproductive.com/PLPKit, PLPKIT. I designed this series to help you create sustainable systems that support your real life. This means supporting you as a person because every aspect of you, your energy and capacity, what you value and desire, how you work best, all of it guides you to your most productive self. And I'm here to show you how. Today, we begin with a foundational workbook I recommend for every client, the Core Values Workbook. I think this may be the one that is most surprising when thinking about productivity, so I thought it'd be a great place to start. Why core values? Because when your productivity systems are aligned with what truly matters to you, like deep down matters to you, your efforts will feel grounding. They'll feel right instead of draining and difficult. They'll feel easier, yet be more effective. You'll spend less energy pushing yourself to get things done and more time taking meaningful action that actually feels right to you and works for you. And when you aren't forcing yourself into systems that don't fit, you'll feel clearer and more confident about your choices and far more satisfied with how you spend your time. So what are core values, like really, and why do they matter? They're the fundamental beliefs and principles that guide your behavior and decisions. They reflect your highest priorities and your deepest convictions. According to John Maxwell, your core values are the deeply held beliefs that authentically describe your soul. I love how he puts that. And your core values are relatively steady as an aspect of your character. They tend to stay with you throughout your life for the most part, or at least through extended seasons. They can evolve over time, especially when you have major life events or experiences. But for the most part, these are the things that are going to stay with you and be a really important fundamental part of who you are. Their purpose is to serve as a filter for how you choose, behave, communicate, how you live your life. You may recognize the word filter if you've listened to my recent episodes, especially 293 on filters to help you make decisions. This is another one of them. I describe core values as a way for you to sift through the noise of the world in order to live intentionally and happily. In my coaching work, values are one of the very first things we uncover because they help explain why certain choices and systems feel good for you, feel right and true, while others feel off somehow, stressful and exhausting, even if you can't explain why. This is probably why. When your systems match your values, your day-to-day life feels more like your own. When they don't, you may notice resistance, guilt, second guessing, and you may even experience burnout because you're drained by the underlying fight that's going on. We often see these things as failing when we can't quite get a system to work, but what's really happening is that the structure itself isn't aligned to what matters most to you. So there's going to be this constant fight, even if you don't realize it's taking place. How can you take action and maintain that action when you don't believe in what you're doing? Now, granted, we push through and we manage that a lot, actually, but that's why it's not sustainable. If you've experienced a breakdown in your motivation and consistency, one of the first places I recommend looking for answers is your values. And that's why this workbook matters so much. It's not about who you should be. It's about identifying what already guides your life so you can make decisions with more clarity and self-trust. If you have the workbook near you, we can review it together. And if not, you can reflect as I walk through each step. Pause and make notes of things that may resonate with you, and then you can come back later and review them with the workbook. Step 1, you're going to explore the word list that I've provided. Near the beginning of the workbook, you'll find a list of possible values. You can find lists like this in so many places online. Just Google core values word lists and you'll find tons of them. And the one that's in this workbook is by no means an exhaustive one, but it has a pretty solid collection and it's a great place to start. Take a look at these words and see if some of the ones on this list, like integrity, loyalty, creativity, compassion, courage, peace, abundance, service, or honesty, strike you as fitting. Your only job right now in step 1 is to notice what resonates, what jumps out as you. Make notes about words that jump out for you, and maybe even ones that don't, because that can be another way to figure out what really fits, is by finding things that don't fit. Circle the words that feel meaningful, highlight the ones that feel familiar or may have some potential, or put a star next to the ones that could be your finalists. However you want to do it, see what works for you. And it's okay if there are many, because there's no right answer here. And this is all about exploring. And what you're doing is having a simple starting point with a bunch of words that will help you discover more as you go. Step 2, you want to reflect on meaningful moments in your life so that you can put them together with step 1. You'll answer reflective questions like, when have I felt proud or really inspired? When have I felt frustrated or compromised, like what I was doing wasn't right? What feels essential for me? What makes me feel fulfilled? Answers to questions like that help connect your life experiences, the things where you are already taking action based on your values, and now you're matching them up to words. This is something you might not have even thought of yet, like, oh, that is a value that was driving me to do this, or why I find that so satisfying. And as you do this, you'll start to see trends. And sometimes you can reverse engineer by identifying that situation where you were most satisfied or proud, and you can find a word that represents what was happening in it. You'll start to see it play out in other choices as you go as well. So let me share an example from my own life. I have always been big on honesty, to the point that the photos you see of me on social media are relatively natural and usually pretty current so that you would recognize me on the street if we met up. It's a funny thing, maybe, but I realized over the years that integrity was a huge core value for me. It's a what you see is what you get kind of thing. I want you to trust that I do what I say and I say what I mean. I saw this play out with my podcast in a variety of ways, and one in particular stands out because the choice that I was making seems a bit counterintuitive based on what most entrepreneurs would recommend, and most podcast strategists for that matter. When you have a podcast that is supposed to support your business, sponsorship is a really big thing. And for years now, I haven't had traditional sponsors for the podcast. And I've only partnered with a small handful of companies for my business. Even though as of this year, it will be 10 years for my business, I can count on one hand how many companies I'm an affiliate for because I believe in them. I'm extremely selective. This is despite the fact that I've been invited by many companies to be an affiliate, to be an influencer for many products, especially as my presence here has grown. But I'm reluctant to accept most of them. And I've come to realize it's because it matters deeply to me that when I recommend something, it's because I truly believe in it. Maybe I've used it, or I know someone that I trust who's used it, and I know what it's about, and that you can trust me when I share it with you. Now, could sponsorships and the income from them be extremely valuable and necessary for me? Absolutely. But integrity is what wins every time. And I decided I needed to find other ways to support my business income and my podcast. It may not always be easy, but it's right for me. That's clarity, and that clarity is what brings peace. Another example comes from when my children were younger. One of my favorite group fitness classes, happened to be Zumba, by the way, was at the exact same time that my kids got home from school. Now, on paper, it seemed perfect because I was able to get coverage for the kids. It didn't interfere with our evenings, when I would be making dinner and putting them to bed, which was really important to me. It supported my health. It was one of my favorite classes. All of this was a huge value to me, and I genuinely enjoyed going. And yet I kept missing this class. I felt resistance going every single time. I realized that the value that I placed on being present for my kids outweighed the benefit of attending that class at that particular time. I wanted to be there when they came home to help them transition from school to home and to support them emotionally and academically as we went through homework and playtime and dinner and bedtime. I wanted to be fully present, especially for those stories that you get immediately after school that are always the juiciest. Now, it didn't mean that movement and exercise and the social connection that I had with that group class wasn't important. It was. But it meant that I had one value outweighing another, which technically is kind of advanced level core values, but I thought you might appreciate the story and you might have one of your own that's very similar to this. The good news is that I realized I was pitting two values against each other and I could stop fighting myself and find another time for this exercise, and then both values could be honored. Step 3 is to ground and clarify your words. Once you've identified some key words and perhaps added more based on your own stories and examples, it's time to review them and find common ground. Start grouping related ones together. Choose one of the words to represent the group if you can. Do you notice the trends, the similarities? Some examples could include learning, growth, and development together, or kindness, compassion, empathy, or adventure, discovery, curiosity. You may notice patterns and themes and priorities in all of these. Keep exploring them and don't be afraid to pull up a thesaurus and play around. Remember that similar words have different connotations, so there may be subtleties that feel more fitting for you. An example of that for me is that I'm very much about appreciating the world around me. And I ended up choosing wonder because, similar to the word marvel, it hints at the miraculous for me. For me, it's a whole different level of gratitude for the world around. And maybe it relates to my time traveling and being in nature. We camp every summer together as a family. And you often hear about the wonders of the world and the wonder of the landscape around you. Whatever the reason, it felt like it fit for me. I liked it because it had that sort of next level appreciation and gratitude. So that's the one I chose. I encourage you to do the same thing. Start with a list, Add to it as you discover more and let your list evolve until what remains feels true, and that the words and whatever subtlety and connotation that they have feel like you. Step 4 is to choose your top 5. Yep, I said top 5. Yay. So now's the time you'll choose core values that you're actually going to work with, and thankfully, you get 5. It may not feel like enough, actually, but it's important to prioritize and be selective, so that feels like a good number. If you can do 3, fabulous, but I'm going with 5. That's coming from a multi-passionate who loathes choosing just one, and sometimes top 3 is just as difficult. So I think this is a good compromise all around. Your top 5 are the ones that will feel essential to you, that really play a strong part, and you might even prioritize them. So in list of importance. But they're the ones that come up the most, and they really seem the most you. They'll be your anchors, and they'll help you stay authentically you in all the decisions you make going forward. Step 5 is to reflect on alignment. Now that you've chosen a set of core values to work with, and don't worry if you feel like you need to go back and adjust them, you certainly can. Now you take it a step further and reflect on how your values currently show up in your life and where they may need some more room, or you may need to make some more room for them. Where are you already living in alignment? Where do these show up? You might find them in the stories you considered when identifying the words. Now, conversely, where are you feeling the tension? Where you feel like you're going against your values? Where you feel at odds with them? Honestly, sometimes this is an easier way to spot them and to find better alignment. For example, if you realize a core value of learning is in your top 5, and then you realize you've had no opportunities in your schedule to do that. It may be as simple as signing up for a free or low-cost online course, or dedicating yourself to reading books each night so that you can start to feel more satisfied. It touches upon that core value of learning. Now you're nourishing that part of you that might have been missing. What choices are you making that you might shift now that you have this clarity? And what might you add? It's what do you want to lessen so that you feel more in alignment? And what do you want to add? Either way, now that you know what matters, what choices will you make? I'll grant you, when you're trying to make decisions and review, and even decisions about what matters to you to help you make decisions in the future, this can all feel like a lot. So, the thing about trusting what you really know about yourself is that the choices actually reveal themselves, and the overwhelm will soften, not only for this process, but for choices in the future. So I want to encourage you to trust that you actually already know these answers, and this process is actually uncovering what you already know. One last thing I want to point out is that if this brings up emotion, relief, clarity, or even grief, that's completely normal. This isn't about fixing yourself. It's not about what you've done wrong. It's about recognizing yourself and allowing your life to align with that truth. This is the starting point. It's a filter to help you process opportunities and choose what's best for you. There is more to explore, and I hope that you have some aha moments in this starting point, and I'd love to know what they are. If you've signed up for the free toolkit, you can simply reply to the email you receive and let me know your thoughts. Or message me if you follow me on social media. And don't worry, we're not done reviewing. This episode is part of the toolkit series here on the podcast that will include the workbooks in the toolkit. So next up, we'll be talking about the joy list, which is so fun and so simple. Then we'll talk about your strengths and tendencies after that. Each one helps you build a shame-free foundation for productivity that honors your real life, that honors you. So keep your toolkit handy, and we'll keep using it together. And if you haven't requested the free Positively Productive Toolkit yet, you can find it along with every resource we mention on the show at positivelyproductive.com/resources. And if you already have it, this is your invitation, your gentle reminder to revisit that core values workbook with new insight and clarity. Thanks so much for joining me today. I am cheering you on, as you create a life and a productivity style that truly honors you. Thank you for joining me today. Your time is precious, and I'm honored you chose to spend it with me. I hope this episode inspired you, and I encourage you to think about one action you can take based on today's topic. Then share it with me so I can cheer you on. Go to positivelyproductive.com to connect with me, read blog posts, and access links from each episode and download resources.